That's funny. Advertisements and bedrooms. What's a bedroom?
There are multiple definitions.
It's a good. It depends. What's some of the definitions you've heard for bedrooms? Got to have a closet. Got to have a closet.
Secondary ingress, egress.
Secondary ingress. I can't say that fast.
It doesn't have to have a closet.
It doesn't have to. Well, what do you mean? You can't have it one way or the other, right?
Older homes did not have closets.
If you had to have a closet, then half the bedrooms in Ardmore would not be considered bedrooms, right? You ever thought of that? It's kind of interesting with closets because you can about tell the age of a house by the size of the bedroom. I mean, the closet. You ever notice that? Back in the 20s and 30s, there were no closets. They had furniture they put it in. Then you started seeing closets like this. Now the closets are the size of this room that we're in, right? They grew. So, all depends. Depends on who you ask. There's no definite definition on a bedroom. It depends which government regulation basically you're asking. Okay? Depends. Depends. North Carolina Department of County Inspections, Engineering Division Residential Code defines a bedroom as a sleeping room or a room designated as sleeping or a bedroom on the plans. Okay? Didn't really say anything about windows in that one. Right? Residential Building Codes says that you need to have certain types of egress. Yet there are exceptions. Okay? In addition, a home built in the 1920s is not generally required to be brought up to today's standards. Okay? Depends on who you ask. Appraisal board must have a closet. Okay? So that's where the closet part comes from the appraisal. So could this be different kind of issues here? You list a house in Ardmore, but then the appraiser don't want to give you value for the bedroom because they all go off different ideas of what a bedroom is. North Carolina Real Estate Commission recognizes that a bedroom need not have a window or a closet to be counted as a bedroom. Okay, do you know that? How can this be so confusing? A bedroom's a bedroom, right? Depends on who you ask. And then HUD, Department of Housing and Urban Development, has indicated that an occupancy policy of 2 persons per bedroom is reasonable under fair housing. This is kind of the big takeaway for property managers. Okay, and kind of the rule of thumb. Y'all heard 2 per bedroom? This is kind of where we get that from, because that can keep you in line with fair housing and family size and everything. So by the end of the day, is this you putting it in the MLS? What is that, a 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, 1-bedroom house? Everybody kind of has different definitions by what we go from, okay? The only true way, especially what I would highly recommend when you're advertising properties with a septic permit, is get one of these. Pull the permit, and actually see what the bedrooms, how many bedrooms it was approved for on the permit. Okay? So in this example, 4 bedrooms. Using the HUD guidelines, how many people can be in that house? 8. So that system should be able to handle up to 8 people. Okay? That's what you kind of want to go for. Fair housing says you can use 2 people per bedroom. So what if you get an application and it's a family of 10? Could you use that as a guideline to say, sorry, the house really is not built for that. Here's other options that we have. Yeah. So always a good idea to know the number of bedrooms. Rule of thumb, always advertise the number of properties shown by the number of bedrooms on the septic permit. Okay? Never walk through a house because somebody could add on to a 2-bedroom. I actually showed a house once here in Forsyth County, and it was advertised in MLS as a 4-bedroom house. My client wanted to make an offer on it. We did a little bit of research. It was a 2-bedroom septic permit. 2-bedroom septic permit. So I'm glad we had that discussion now, because in 5 years, if they go to sell that 4-bedroom house and the agent comes in and says that's a 2-bedroom house, there could be some problems with that. So always rule that. But Mark, what if? What if there's not a septic permit on file? You ever run into that? You run into that quite a bit. I'd heard back in the day here in Winston-Salem, there was actually a fire at the courthouse and some documents were lost. So a lot of times, if you call, depending on the age of the house and everything, they're sorry, we don't have anything on record. What do you do? What do you do?
Get it inspected.
Get it inspected? You know, the thing is you have to do your own due diligence. You have to look into it. So if that's the case, I would document. The rule, takeaway of this whole class is document, 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 as we've said throughout the whole day. Document that. Called for septic permit not available. then you can start working your way down and doing research. So then maybe you could look at the tax card. If the tax card says it's a 3-bedroom, you talk to the owner says we've lived here for 20 years, it's always been a 3-bedroom, we haven't done any new add-ons or anything, then I would document that and show that you at least did your research to find that out. But that's a discussion you definitely want to have with your clients as well. To say, listen, if for some reason we move them in here, there might be a septic issue problem. Now, if you do your research and the tax card says 3 bedrooms, but the owner says, well, we added on that bedroom 2 years ago, you need to ask, did you fix the septic permit? If not, then you might want to only advertise that as a 2-bedroom, okay? Just try to do some research and look into it. The one thing you don't want to do is just walk through a house and be like, yep, it's a 4-bedroom house, put it up for rent, 4-bedroom. You could have some major problems with that. Do some research. Property managers must use their common sense in determining bedrooms, okay? So if the room is tiny and really a closet, probably don't call it a bedroom, okay? Use some common sense on how you do that. The bottom line is, as always, know what the guidelines are and act as a reasonable real estate agent would do under certain circumstances. Key document. Show you did some homework, you did the research to find out what's going on with the septic systems. Questions on any of that? Has anybody got any fun stories? I always learn a lot because I hear a lot of stories teaching property management stuff. We've come across some good stories, right? Anybody have any issues with septic tanks? Anybody had to deal with doing, adding tail lines or?
I'm doing that now.
That's fun, isn't it?
We've got so many marked, it's just tens of thousands of dollars, and it's just insane.
Yeah, I will tell you, be very careful. I've run into this before. Actually, I got one now that I'm kind of dealing with. If you're going to manage a property, if it's an older house and it's a really small lot, be very careful, okay? Because if that septic tank ever has to be repaired by guidelines, it has to be so far away from the property lines. And if it's a small, narrow lot and you don't have much room to do add-ons and everything, you could be looking at a lot of money because then you're going to have to put in specialty, I don't even know what they call them, like specialty tanks that are about half the size and about triple the cost to get these things fixed. Because if there's a well on the property, that sets back guidelines as well. Just do some research and just kind of have that in the back of your mind if you're looking at a property that could have septic issues. Yeah?
We've got a little farmhouse down in North Davidson that was built somewhere in the early 1900s, maybe 1915. We had some septic issues there. It took a while to locate the tank. There was about 6 tanks out there.
6 tanks?
Yeah, they apparently back in the day, they didn't bother to repair one. They just moved over and put a new one in. It was easier.
Yeah.
Just trying to figure out which one we were trying to repair. It took a little while on that one.
Yeah. I actually went to a house not long ago that still had an outhouse on the property in Clemens, and they said they used it up until the 90s. I was like, what?
That was back
Back in the day.
That was
So
Brad's
if you don't
house.
have record of the septic tank, how do they go about finding them?
That's a good question. If you don't have a record of a septic permit, how do you go about finding them? Sometimes it's hard to locate them.
You know what I mean? Like, how did you see?
You gotta prove it, you do.
Follow the drain.
You gotta prove
If
it.
you can see where the sewer line's leaving the house,
If you can see where the sewer line's leaving the house, you can kind of get an idea.
We've even,
But-
we've even seen one where they built a bathroom on and used a 50-gallon drum as a septic tank. They knocked the top of it out and buried that 50-gallon drum.
Okay, burying a 50-gallon drum in the backyard as a septic tank, probably not up to
And
code.
they had it built like a regular septic tank would,
Yeah.
except that it was a 50-gallon drum.
You run into issues with septic tanks. We had a house we closed 2 weeks ago, and they couldn't locate the septic tank. Turns out the people that bought the house and they built it, they planted these really nice bushes that's now 10 feet tall trees on top of the septic tank.
That could damage it.
Yeah, and so part of the request is we had to have them cut the trees down and remove the stumps so we could even do the inspection. So you want to be aware of these issues. Can y'all see the problems that can come out of septic tanks really, really, really quick?
I'm gonna give you a piece of advice I learned from an older gentleman here. If you can find onions in a yard, you can probably find a septic tank. Because onions thrive on the nutrients of raw sewage.
I did not know that. And you learn anything in a property management class, right? So if you see onions in the yard, it might be, don't eat them. Yeah, never heard of that. A lot of times with the tail lines, you will see really green grass. Have you ever seen that? Or you'll see a mound or something. So the key is, though, one, know where it's at and know the ages to it and everything. Good job, y'all. Good comments.